What is up, guys? Thank you for joining me in this video. If you clicked on this video, you're probably interested in what happened in my 52-hour wipe in honor mode in Baldur's Gate 3. That's what I'm going to be explaining to you. This is a playthrough that I did a couple weeks ago, right when the game came out, specifically the honor mode version of the game. And so basically, I was in mainland China, I was visiting my wife's family, so I was unable to upload videos to YouTube, but I had a little gaming laptop that I could play, and I was playing with a group of people. Because of the time zone differences, I was trying to coordinate with this group of people that I had met on the Baldur's Gate 3 Discord. There's a looking for group Discord. I wouldn't say I would recommend it, but you can find some people to play there. And anyway, I was playing with this group of people that, we were all new to honor mode, and suffice it to say, what I didn't know when I had started out was a lot of the people that I was playing with had not even played the game past Act 1, which is a big thing. You're going to see a lot of players that play Act 1. They play Act 1 a lot in the looking for group form, but they don't really progress in the game. So we were fine through Act 1, basically going through Act 2. Now, previous to this, as soon as Honor Mode had come out, I had done some solo work and done some Act 1 and Act 2 content where I had actually tried to figure out the boss's legendary actions, started to dig into the game, but I wanted to do Honor Mode in a group setting. Looking back, probably a mistake, guys, probably a mistake. But this playthrough was, in some ways, the most exceptional and in some ways the most tragic playthrough I've ever had in Baldur's Gate 3. So basically, what happened was I was playing at 3 to 4 a.m. because was China time. That was the time zone that the rest of the people that I was playing with could play at. So I was waking up early in the morning, trying to get in, let's say 3 hours a day, 4 hours a day, playing with this group of people. We were doing good in Act 1, and predominantly what I was doing is a 10-1-1 sword bard. So for those of you that don't know, and I'm going to be covering this build in an upcoming video, it is basically doing 10 bard, 1 wizard, 1 fighter. And so basically, it's a situation where you're using a bard to have control spells. So this is using OP items in the late game like Rhapsody. You're using Helmet of Arcane Acuity. For those of you that don't know, that increases the spell DC. So yeah, I was using this build, and I was also using a Barbarian Thief Zerker build to actually throw base weapons with Tavern Brawler. The problem is that happened was that I we had a lot of problems right away. So one thing that I didn't understand at the time that was happening was because of my latency, and in order to even play from China, I was also going through a proxy VPN. So not only was the high millisecond ping, but there was also a VPN going. Now, for those of you who have not played in Honor mode has a serious problems with bugs, and that is because you can only have one save file. Since it's a permadeath mode, there's only one save file. If your entire party wipes, the set gets resaved. So right away, we started experiencing some bugs, specifically with certain characters glitching through the map in certain places. Yeah, we had some significant bugs in Act 1 and 2, and our entire party was almost wiped because one character basically glitched under the map and basically got downed under the map, but was kept in a alive position where he was down but not dead, which is something that can happen. So what we did is we actually had this is going into the Gauntlet of Shaw actually. So in Act 2, so what we actually did was we figured out that if we could get the little teleporter going up and down, which is how the first character basically got glitched through the map, we could glitch another player through the map, which was my bard, do Song of Rest, which would then revive both of us. Now we're still out of bounds at this point, and then basically be able to go to camp and then teleport to a new location. So right away in Act 1 and Act 2, we had near disaster, with this one almost being ended by bugs. Now, this Thief Zerker build also had major problems because in late Act 2, another bug happened where this character just completely disappeared from the sidebar and was basically unable to be recruited back into the party. Eventually, we were able to recruit another companion, a basically a hireling, but all of the gear that we had on that companion was glitched out and we could no longer access the inventory. Now, this was a major problem because in late Act 2 and early Act 3, right before this had happened, we had gone around to Sorcerer's Sundries and a lot of other shops and stolen a large amount of goods. Now, because we were using strength elixirs, originally giant strength, and then cloud strength on this character, we were using them as our pack mule and basically had a ton of our gear to be able to sell to other vendors on this one character when this glitch occurred. So because of that, we lost probably around 10,000 gold worth of inventory. Meanwhile, during this whole run, Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3, we started out was 4 players strong. Now, at the end, only me and one other person, I'm just going to call him Sunny, was actually the same people that started the playthrough. So, one thing I want to tell you about it is just, I've seen it myself. A lot of people start Act 1, but very few people are willing to go the full distance and go into Act 3. We did pick up somebody in early Act 2 that was a real uh, benefit to us. We're going to call him Alex. He was running a Gloomstalker rogue build that really saved our ass many times. And I'll give him a lot of props. Props to you, Alex. And he ran through us from early Act 2 all the way until the end of the run at 52 hours, right before the Elderbrain. And I'm going to go into that, what happened. But suffice it to say, this entire run was just an absolute disaster, guys, of, bugs, bad knowledge. Only me and Alex really knew the second half of the game. In Act 2 and Act 3, one of the places I was with Sunny, I realized he had never even finished the game. Went into the achievements, figured out he had never finished the game, which I don't blame him. He's a great guy, and I really liked him. Another thing that was going on is several other party members, including Sunny, were constantly changing character classes. So, for instance, Sunny was a cleric at one point. He was a battle mage at the end. He was a fighter, specifically a sword and board shield fighter. He was a champion berserker. So there was a lot of changes, and for each of these changes, if you don't know in honor mode, you're basically going and finding specific best in slot gear. So every time there was a change in terms of we recruited a new person into the party, we would then have to respec their character to whatever they wanted, and then try to find the gear that was actually available at that act and whatever we could find, because some of it had already been passed, because we had 2 people quit out in Act 1 and then another 2 people join, and then several other people quit in Act 2, and we had to fill their slot. So when we started Act 3, and this was basically the final composition, it was just myself, Alex, and Sunny. And Sunny ended up being a battle mage. Now, me and Alex both told him that we didn't think this would be a good idea, and that we would prefer him to either play a cleric or just go straight wizard. Forget the battle mage, no sword and board battle mage mix. But he decided that he really wanted to play a battle mage, and he managed to convince us, both me and Alex, that it would be okay. Now, our total composition at this point was we had myself as a 10-1-1 sword bard. We had myself as a throw berserker, and it was kind of a modified one because we had lost a Nerulia and we had lost the throwing pike via the bug that I was talking about with our character that was basically the pack mule. So what I did was I had a howling and then used the dwarven thrower. So we had that character, but he had lost the ring and flinging, a lot of the best in slot stuff. So we had one throw Zerker going on. We had one 10-1-1 sword bard. We had one Gloomstalker ranger, and then we had this battle mage. Now we got through most of the fights. Kalazor, we got through House of Hope. We got through most of the fights. Gortash, Orn. Orn was very close. We actually had to use an invisibility potion, get out, and then redo the fight. So we almost wiped there. Gortash was fairly solid. We did pretty good. Titan at the Watcher Factory was pretty good. But, Orn was a very close call because we didn't really understand the unstoppable stacks, because this is the first time all of us had gotten to that point in the game. Again, this is a few weeks ago when Animo just came out. And so we didn't really understand how to whip down Orn's defenses. Eventually, we figured it out was Magic Missile, and Kerasban's poison so we could actually paralyze Orn and then basically strip our defenses and blow up. So we were feeling really good going into the in game, going up to the Elderbrain. The negative problem about this one was we didn't have that many companions in the Gather Your Allies quest. We only had about 4 companions that was going to join us in the final fight. So we made a decision, specifically with Alex's thought. His thought was we really need to hold back when we go into the first courtyard. Now, for those of you that don't know, when you're basically pushing up to the Elderbrain, there's going to be several distinct fights. You're going to fight a red dragon right before the Elderbrain. You're going to have the final fight with the Elderbrain, and then there's the high courtyard fight. So when we got into the high courtyard, we were like, well, we only have a few companions we need to summon in. We don't have that many. We probably should wait to push them when we get to the red dragon. So our thought process was, let's call our allies in fairly late and let's try to take this fight right here. Now, we did not have a cleric, which was a major, major problem. But what we did have, though, was we had a wizard with globes of invulnerability, at least a spell of globes of invulnerability. And then he also had the legendary staff, so he had an arcane battery. So technically he had 2 level 6 spells. So we felt pretty good. But immediately when we got into this first courtyard fight, the magistrates and I believe the Iflid like spellcasters stunned my 10-1-1 sword bard, and then actually mind controlled. I believe it was I want to say it was the berserker, because I don't think he was raged yet. He wasn't in frenzy, but we felt okay. So we felt like, hey, just need to pop a globe of invulnerability. So we tell Sunny at this point, me and Alex tell Sunny, just pop a globe of invulnerability or buy us free turns. We'll be able to, get our allies out because this whole thing has gone kind of to hell. We're unable now to basically survive unless we start calling allies. For whatever reason, probably pressure at this point, and I do not want to put blame on him, but this is just what happened. Sunny at this point decides, I'm going to throw a level 3 fireball at this group of enemies, trying to break the concentration of the person that is holding my 10-1-1 sword bard instead of putting the globe of invulnerability down. Now, this turned out to be a fatal mistake. After this, several things happened. So number one, Sunny, because there was like 8 to 10 enemies and he had the lowest AC, basically got targeted in one turn. So he went down immediately. On the same turn, our Gloomstalker Ranger, realizing that the fight was already slipping out of their control, decided to take the Emperor, because we went with the Emperor route instead of Orpheus. Basically, he decided to take the Emperor and say, okay, let me actually try to just push to the Drake, because there's no way that we can actually win this. Looking back, this was a terrible decision. We thought maybe if we could disengage from the combat, he could come back in and snipe certain enemies, and then we could revive people and have some chance there. But realistically, that was the worst thing he could have ever done. I was able to actually summon out a fire elemental. So we did have a fire elemental, and the combat went 10 or 12 turns, but then we all wiped. So, this was incredibly, incredibly painful, guys. 52 hours and probably around 1.5 to 2 weeks of each day waking up at 3 a.m. and hitting this wipe right before the Elderbrain, when we felt very confident going in. Now, it's easy to point the blame, hey, your wizard didn't cast Scroll of Invulnerability, that was the problem, or cast Globe of Invulnerability, because he had not only the scroll, but he had the actual, the spell version of it. I believe we had one scroll and he had basically 2 spell slots. But, it's easy to throw the blame at him, but really, I don't want to blame him. I just want to, kind of share the story, because now it's humorous, now that I've beat the game and went with another party and also played myself and gotten through auto mode. But I will tell you this, that's the type of things you should think about in auto mode is, is each of your party members really understanding this fight? Have we agreed on a course of action? Once you get into the Gortash 1 and final push fights, this becomes more important. I think in Act 1 and Act 2, it's okay to kind of go in with a little bit more of a moldable strategy. But at the end game, you need to have a definite strategy, and each character in your party needs to have a predefined role of what they're going to be doing. So yeah, I just wanted to share this little story with you. Hopefully, you guys have a similar wipe story. I've heard people wipe in Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. But yeah, I just wanted to share this story and kind of share my pain, but also share my joy because looking back on it, I really enjoyed my time with Alex and Sunny. Props to you guys, and I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and learned something or found it entertaining. I'll see you guys in the next one.